right at it.
Hear the hunger in my voice, they used to tell me to speak up. The problem was of what I was saying, they couldn't keep up. Instead of moving around with some patience, they tried to speed up. It got colder than a bitter bitch, found me a way to heat up. What's a favor for a favor if we all didn't make it? Kept it 100 with everybody, but they just gon' change. I ain't get caught up in the hype, cause I ain't feel like I made it. Couldn't picture me here now, but here's your moment to frame it. And I ain't never understand that self-entitlement spirit. I felt your vibe, I don't wanna get near it. Before I made the appearance, I took a second, took a look in the mirror. This God, Lord, the only thing that I fear. Y'all got me fucked up. This all passion, it's tradition, it ain't fashion. It's no action, they make threats and it's still passive. I think massive, no respond, that's still tact. Y'all should quit rapping. Cheap shots, I'm cinematic. I ain't average, I'm an overthrow fanatic. How I go, you lose and win like asthmatics. I got first, that's automatic. I'm the best in my division. In the ghetto like the pigeons, in the hood like the engine. You a bird for that chicken. I don't fake split decisions, cause my mind made up, nigga. We in the end of time, but my time ain't up. Now when I was young and running wild and wide-eyed like a cabbage patch, I had to get it as vivid, adapted to my habitat. It's certain shit I won't do, certain shit you can't prove. My shit sound like a payday, yours like more when the rent. If I had $1 for every dime you counted, I would be broke. Watch it be close, got a better chance, boxing the ghost. And they know I'm raw, and they know the squad, and I'm feeling large, still in charge. I don't make it follow, I follow the law. Standing tall like they hear on March. I just got a call from my bro, he behind the wall, he told me let it off. Niggas lying for some cat, I got a different line in me. Everybody intimidated, I got that God in me. You get focused on them dimes, I'd rather keep my nine with me. Help me get this off the ground, just know you won't fly with me now.
I try to make the news, I ain't playing by the rules. I've been trying to play it cool, but that ain't gon' be the living. Y'all out here looking like fool. Home with the truth, I ain't never had to choose.
I'm trying to get beamed up, man, y'all trying to make the news. I ain't playing by the rules. I've been trying to play it cool, but that ain't gon' pay the bill. Y'all out here looking like fool. Home of the truth, y'all ain't never had to choose. Trying to get beamed up, man, y'all trying to make the news. I ain't playing by the rules. I've been trying to play it cool, but that ain't gon' pay the bill. Y'all out here looking like fool. Home of the truth, y'all ain't never had to choose. Trying to get beamed up.
The beat.
I don't know who, somebody need to hear this. Y'all don't speak Hebrew, that's Yiddish. How the fuck you try to label us anti-Semitic? We the Israelites, blacks, native Hispanics. The Germans getting locked up for the Holocaust. Meanwhile, black people still up in the Holocaust. 100 million of us died in the transatlantic. 6 million died, y'all want the world to never forget it. You can never be a Jew, you a Ashkenaz. This ain't a star dum-dum, a gun down or die. Yeah, Yeezy told the truth and got ostracized. Not one person in the Bible had on a yarmulke. We was slaves in America like we was in Egypt. Y'all don't even fit the curses in the Torah neither. Y'all was blind to the truth, I had to make it clear. How Jerusalem, your land, your people came from Europe. That was 1947, your menorah got 9 sticks, it's really only 7. Yeah, it's us against the world, Armageddon. This what happened when you inherit lies from your ancestors. Y'all the synagogue of Satan with them black hats. Your whole nation sitting ducks, Aflacs. Bunch of thieves and culture vultures, ain't nothing kosher. To tell the truth, you vagabonds don't have a culture. Macedonia, Alexander and Philip, you a convert, so tell me, how the fuck is you Israel? That don't make you the people just cause you litter. Why my people can't hate your people like y'all hate Hitler? All the prophets was black and was called nigga. Y'all don't even fit the description that's in the scriptures. Abraham, all the way down to Jacob, we the real Jews. Y'all don't study Christ, y'all follow the Talmud. Keep it real, yeah, let's keep it real. Cold hard truth, it give you chills. Say y'all Jewish cause y'all ain't really them. About to do them like Hammond, it's the Feast of Purim. UPK undefeated, this an easy win. We was born fighting, y'all the evil twin. Jacob took hold of his heel, then out came his little red bastard and they kosher deals. It's only 12 tribes, y'all trying to make it 13. Esau despised his birthright, the Lord cursed him. He ain't the devil, who is? I'm still searching. Ask your rabbi, why he get them babies herpes? I don't know what's worse, that or you claiming that you a Maccabee. I'm about to cancel, everybody try to cancel ye. I ain't afraid to speak, that's what I do. They riding to the core, I'm just judging them by their fruit. cause they ain't suffering curses. If I was carnal, I promise I'd punch you in person. I know this an uncomfortable subject. They making millions off our culture and black people suffering from it. Yeah, they don't believe in Christ, they the Antichrist. Make a living off of niggas, they a parasite. I ain't afraid to tell the truth, niggas terrified. I'm about to go DEFCON 4, I ain't satisfied.
That is proof. That is absolute proof that they know we are the real Jews. That's absolute proof. Now you got the records. Go find me a white Jew on any archaeology in Egypt anywhere. You will never find a piece of archaeology with white people as slaves in Egypt. So don't tell me that they were slaves and it's their identity, and they know it. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not. The Lord knows the blasphemy of you so-called white people that say you are Jews and you are not Jews. You are not the people of the law. You are not God's chosen people. God's chosen people are living in the ghettos of America. God's chosen people are in poverty and depression in the streets of America. God's chosen people are walking around in America with no identity.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what it is. 140 for the rapper, busy man, shit, nigga. They take their head over, nigga.
I pray what Eve did to Adam, I just pray my love don't lie to me. Swing the iron like Samson, I can't let no holder lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, all they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying, this shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Suckle up and stay alert, another cop just stretch the nigga. He a demon, this that exorcism, watch I bless the nigga. You took that oath in blood, then you know I'm gon' get active with you. From the opposition, I see vision, let me paint the picture. Rappers claim they spit, and I ain't listening, is in fact the If revenge was a woman, now I stroke that bitch like Jack the Ripper. War, we gon' run the summer, it's gon' be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, me cookies with the oil. I'ma get them crackers, hell, should've never kidnapped my family. I can't do that, bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young baby. How you real triggering on them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? When he said something, I ain't hear him. This shit light. It ain't on who got the gun, it's on who gon' up that pipe first. I turn a bad situation to a game change. Bring soldiers from the dead, just raised up the chain. Six shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand and feed you, you'll never get that hand back. He bitchin' about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody wanna be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. I'm a certified woman's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, out with that hollow side, yeah, this the rim accord. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still up on my brain, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get that boy lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his game, pop out on them demons like I'm Hellboy.
Hey, listen, brothers and sisters, man. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button, man. Subscribe to this channel. And also, please, go to isupk.com and pay your tithe. Drop me some cash so we can move around this planet like we need to, man, and do the things we need to do.
Everyone west. Everyone west. Everyone west.
Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Shabrak Thumb to all the brothers, Yahweh Shamar Thumb Basham Yahweh to all the sisters. I'm priest and officer 500 Barak Yallah with the I.S.U.P.K, which stands for the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General YAHANNA, you understand? And since 1969, again, we've been bringing out this truth about these scriptures, about who are the people in the Bible, right, which are ignorantly known today as so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And not only that, but we're giving you historical knowledge that you don't learn in school whatsoever in any of these educational institutions. You will never learn the true history of our people, right? In school, you learn about our story started with slavery, that the natives were savages. You know, understand the Latinos are a mix of European whatsoever, all types of nonsense, right? But you will not learn the truth. You will not learn the truth in church. You will not learn the truth at school. You will learn the truth, though, in the I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. And today's topic should be obvious. We are November 11th, which is Remembrance Day. In some parts of the world, the U.S. call it Veterans Day. It used to be called the Day of Armistice, which we'll break down as well. We'll see what is this day about, who is remembered, and who are they teaching you to not remember? Or more like, who are they not teaching you to remember, right? For those who don't know, well, we're getting to that right now, right? As a matter of fact, if anyone has any questions or comments, y'all feel free to put it in the chat. You understand? We are live on I.S.U.P.K, Montreal and Toronto on YouTube, as well as I.S.U.P.K Montreal and Canada on Facebook. Now let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, what is this day about today, right? If you want to be part of the school, click in the sign in and sign out links in the chat as well. So, Remembrance Day. Remembrance Day, also known as Poppy Day, owing to the tradition of wearing a remembrance poppy, is a memorial day observed in Commonwealth member states since the end of the First World War to honor armed forces members who have died in the line of duty. Basically, what it means is that they are remembering or honoring the fallen soldiers of World War I. We'll see which fallen soldiers are they honoring and which fallen soldiers are they not honoring, or that they don't teach you to honor, right? The day is also marked by war remembrances in several other non-Commonwealth countries. In most countries, Remembrance Day is observed on 11 November to recall the end of First World War hostilities. Hostilities ended at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month, which is why y'all have a 1 to 2 minute silence today at 11:11, literally, of 1918, in accordance with the armistice signed by the representatives of Germany at the Entente between 5:12 and 5:20 that morning. At the 11th hour refers to the passing of the 11th hour, or 11 a.m. And the First World War formally ended with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles on June 28, 1919. So basically, you're remembering the fallen soldiers of World War I every 11th of November at 11 o'clock, right? What does the armistice means? Armistice basically means, what's it called? Not peace treaty. It means a truce or a ceasefire. It's a French word for truce or ceasefire, right? And basically it says the tradition of Remembrance Day evolved out of Armistice Day, which is the same exact thing. It was just renamed Remembrance Day or Veterans Day in the US. The initial armistice was observed at Buckingham Palace, commencing with King George V hosting a banquet in honor of the President of the French Republic during the evening hours of 10 November 1919. The first official Armistice Day was subsequently held on the grounds of Buckingham Palace the following morning. The Second World War, during the Second World War, many countries changed the name of the holiday. Members of the Commonwealth of Nations adopted Remembrance Day, while the US chose Veterans Day. So if you wonder, are they all different? No, they're all synonymous. It used to be called Armistice Day, meaning the day of truce or ceasefire. And it was just later on changed during the Second World War as Remembrance Day or Veterans Day in the US, right? Let's go down a bit. Let's see how some of these observe it, right? Also, shout out to everyone in the chat. Dwyer for tuning in. me one moment. Is it in this paragraph? Is this one, right? Because we're in Canada, so let's see how the Canadians view it as well. Several other days of remembrance for veterans were also created, including the National Aboriginal Veterans Day, inaugurated in 1994 to recognize the contribution of Aboriginal soldiers. When they say Aboriginal, they're talking about our Gadiite brothers and sisters who are so-called Native American Indians. And just to show you that they really don't give a damn about y'all, is that, mind you, when did they start observing this day to commemorate the soldiers, the fallen soldiers in World War I? In the early 1900s, like what, 1918? So-called Native American Indians were not remembered or commemorated until 1994. You understand? They don't give a damn about you. It's damn near like you were not even part of the history until 1994. Don't expect them to give you any reconnaissance at all. For what? Your oppressor, they can recognize their soldiers. They can recognize their people. Remember their people. You are not their people. You understand? But we got a basic understanding of what it is. What is Remembrance Day? Who they remember, right? Now, let's talk about who they don't remember. Let's talk about that. You understand? Let's talk about who is forgotten. Because you might think that Remembrance Day has nothing to do with Black people, right? Remembrance Day is irrelevant to us. The thing is that we were fighting in World War I. In every single war of our oppressor, we were fighting in the army. But they're not going to teach you that in school. Because I remember in high school, even right before, a year or two before I got into high school in the world, right? I got in trouble. Why? Because I did not keep quiet for that minute of silence. It's irrelevant to us. Like, no Black. Why would we remember like some devils? Who cares, right? The thing is that they don't teach you in school that you were also on the front lines. The matter of fact, you were the expendable soldiers, the soldiers they could replace at any time. You were put there so the enemy could waste its bullet on you while they fire while the enemy reloads, right? That's what they don't teach you in school. They don't teach you in school that all those trenches that kept the soldiers, not in firing range directly, were dug by you. You dug up those trenches. Good night. The army was segregated. You were not even allowed to even when you wanted to fight, you were not allowed to. I mean, not amongst your white counterparts. No. You understand? But they're not teaching you to remember those soldiers. They're teaching you to remember Jimmy's great-grandfather or grandfather, whatever generation it is that went to World War I and World War II. I remember this devil in school asking me, so what are we remembering? He said, oh, my grandfather was in World War II and my grandfather was in World War I, right? They honor their people. They know their history. They remember them. But they teach you to forget about yours. They teach you to forget about the slave trade. They don't even teach you to remember the people who fought the war alongside their grandfather. Why? Because probably their grandfather was trying to lynch them when they were not on the battlefield. That's what they're not going to teach you. You understand? Shalom Ramaya wa Shema Tabashim Yawashai. The water for tuning in. But let's see some of these stories that we should, remember, that they're not going to remember regardless. This is from the government website itself. It's not like they don't have the information. It's not like the information is not going to be available. They just don't want you to know about it. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit. During World War I, right? So like 1 second. During World War I, when African-American National Guard soldiers of New York's 15th Infantry Regiment arrived in France in December 1917, they expected to conduct combat training and enter the trenches of the Western Front right away to fight the enemy. So you're expecting to give a helping hand to your oppressor. Even though you're just expendable and they could replace you at any time, right? One of the reasons why they didn't want you on the front lines, even though they're fighting an enemy, it looked bad to see niggers shoot white people. Very bad. They don't want to put you that. They don't want to put that in your mind where you're allowed to shoot white people. It's one of the reasons you were not even allowed. Like, even though you're allowed on the battlefield, you're not there to shoot white people. You're there to dig the trenches. You understand? That's one of the main reasons why they didn't want you to fight alongside them, even though you're fighting the same enemy. Like, they'll be damned if they let a nigger shoot a white man. Same with the Latinos. Don't think Latinos, we're going to get into that. Latinos were on the battlefield as well. Latinos were on the battlefield. Benjamites were on the battlefield. French, English Benjamites, Dutch Benjamites. The Native Americans were on the battlefield, but they'd be damned if they let niggers, spics, and savages shoot a good white man. Or any white man, good or bad, friend or foe. You understand? That's why they're not going to teach you about that history, that you were on the battlefield with them as well. Let's keep reading. All right. Hey, Shalom Yahweh. So, however, at first, the African American troops were ordered to unload supply ships at the docks for their first months in France, joining the mass of supply troops known as the stevedores, working long hours in the port at Saint-Nazaire. You were not allowed to fight alongside your peers. You were here to carry supplies and dig trenches. You see this postcard, you are the people represented in the postcards to carry all the loads for your white counterpart soldiers, right? More than 380,000 African Americans served in the army during World War I, according to the National Archives. More than 250,000 of us served in the war. About 200,000 were sent to Europe, but more than half of those who deployed were assigned to labor and stevedore battalions. Listen, more than half of you were not even there to fight. They didn't want you to shoot white people. That's why you were just here to carry the loads and dig trenches and labor. These troops performed essential duties for the American Expeditionary Force, building roads, bridges, and trenches in support of the frontline battles. That was your role. Preparing docks, railway lines. In Saint-Nazaire, the New York National Guard soldiers learned they would work to prepare the docks and railway lines to be a major port of entry for the hundreds of thousands of forces yet to arrive in France. The African American regiment was a quick and easy source of labor, according to author Stephen Harris in his book, Harlem's Hellfighters. Right? Give me one moment. There you go. First Army General John J. Pershing would have a source of cheap labor. Obviously, that source of cheap labor is not a black general in the white man's army, Harris wrote, right? Second, he wouldn't have to worry about what to do with black soldiers, particularly when he might have to mix them in white troops. Why? Because you're not, even though you're with the white troops, you're not alongside them. So he's not worried about white troops being vexed that, oh, why do we have to, fight alongside niggas? No, why worry? Because you will be carrying the load while they'll be using the weapons. You'll just be bringing it to them. You understand? I'm not saying that no black men partook in the fight, right? But you are not meant to be there to do so in the first place. Not in their eyes. They might have used you, just like they're used as pawns on a chessboard to sacrifice the pawns. You understand? But even then, they didn't want you to fight alongside them. Just keep that in mind when you're still trying to get accepted in your oppressive society. Ain't nothing changed today. Racism is still very prevalent in the white man's army. the white man's military, the police force. It's never going to change. And that's what we need to understand as a people. Even till today, right? We're in 2024. No, what devil is teaching you about so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans who fought alongside them during World War I and World War II? I can't see who's this person. The Facebook user said, my grandfather fought in World War I. And guess what? Her grandfather is not being remembered today by an oppressor who remembers their people. You understand? That's the thing. They don't give a damn about it. They never did and never will. Right? Let's see this. See if we could do that a bit further. I want the part where it says that they got vexed because they were assigned tasks that, they were not expecting. Because you don't expect to just, carry loads for white people over there. You expect to be fighting for your country. It's not your country. You understand? Give me one moment. Now we could continue right here, right? So he would bring with him the regiment's most formidable weapon in Slovakia. There you go. The regiment best advocate to get into fight was their commander, Colonel William Hayward. It was time for us to try to do something toward extricating ourselves from the dirty mess of pick swinging and wheelbarrow trundling that we were in. So you still, time after time, even though they're letting you know you're not here to do nothing but, carry the loads, you're trying to prove yourself to white people. Today, you're doing the same thing. As you can see, it said, it's time to extricate ourselves, meaning to separate ourselves, right, from the dirty mess of pick swinging and wheelbarrow trundling. Let's stop carrying the loads. Let's what do they call it? Carry your weight. Let's prove ourselves to them that we're useful. That's what you're trying to do. Today, you still do the same thing in the police force. For what? You sacrifice the integrity of your people just to show Massa that you're useful to him, that he could use you. Listen, he don't give a damn. Be the best slave ever. You're still a nigger regardless. You understand? Hayward had set to cap Arthur Little, commander of the regimental band, according to Jeffrey Samons in his 2014 book, Harlem's Rattlers in the Great War. Y'all want to know about black people in the war, just get those books, Harlem Rattlers and the Great War, right, amongst other books. So we had come to France as combat troops, and apparently we were in danger of becoming labor troops, Hayward said. And here's the problem. The problem is, as a slave, you're expecting compassion. You're expecting to be accepted in your oppressor's military. You're expecting anything but oppression from your oppressor. You might hear me say that all the time because this is something that our people have to understand, that it's hard for them to fathom. It's hard for them to comprehend for whatever reason. It's hard for them to comprehend that the oppressed should not ever expect anything but oppression from its oppressor. Stop trying to look at white people like, you know what? If we show them that we're good soldiers, you might be the best sniper in the whole military. You're still going to be a nigger, and they will still leave you in the back of the bus. As a matter of fact, right? There's a soldier. I forgot if it was World War I or II. We're going to make a whole history class about a lot of black soldiers in the military and Latinos. He came back from the war. He's a veteran. He was wearing his uniform during the Jim Crow era. And he got pulled. Was it in the bus? I think he was in the bus. The point is, he got approached by a police officer who beat him so bad that he beat his eyes out of his sockets for wearing a uniform, not knowing that he's a veteran. Whether he knew or not, it's really irrelevant. Niggas is still getting lynched in 2024. So that's not surprising. There's still videos today of brothers who served in the military. They're getting pepper sprayed and damn near beaten half to death by the police in 2024. Imagine back then, and still you would enroll in the army and trying to prove your worth to the white man. You ain't worth nothing. You never were. Black lives don't matter. And here's the proof that Black lives don't matter, is that you have to remind people that they do matter. It's damn near it should be a normal social concept that lives matter, where you don't have to tell nobody, my life matter, his life matter, her life matters. But it's like Black and Hispanics and Native have to remind people that their life matter. The reason why we have to remind people that their life matters is because our lives really don't matter to them. This is why we feel compelled to say it. We feel compelled to let them know, listen, just like you pray for Palestine, our lives matter too. You understand? Let's get a precept real quick, right? Here's what you need to understand. You cannot expect anything but oppression from your oppressor. It's never going to change, ever. This is the book of Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 17. So, Laki, let me share my screen. As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. Why are your eyes are failing? Because you patiently are looking at them thinking that, you know what, we're going to get a crumb. We're going to get recognition. You're not. You're going to, let's keep reading. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that cannot save us. You're patiently waiting, looking at them, not even blinking once, because you don't want to miss that compassion that they're going to give you. You don't want to miss, that even if it's a preview or trailer of a compassion they would give you, you don't want to miss it. So you keep looking, you keep watching them. You keep expecting anything else but oppression from your oppressor. But your eyes are getting tired. You see how, let me give you an example. You see how beggars put their hand in front of their face, right? Expecting a penny, expecting a drop of rain or water. You expect compassion for your oppressor until your arms get tired. Listen, you're gonna, anywhere you are, you're then gonna be like this, mummified with your puppy eyes. You understand? You're gonna be frozen like a statue, just expecting anything else from your oppressor. He's never gonna give it. He's never gonna give you compassion. He won't. He's never gonna give you anything. In 2024, he's still not remembering the Black and Hispanics and Native soldiers that fought in World War I. Good night. They rather recognize the German enemies that fought against them than recognize you that fought alongside them. Right? Up till this day, still trying to prove your worth. You're not worth anything because you have to remind them that your lives matter, when in their eyes, they don't. Let's get to the article, right? This is an article from BBC. Let me zoom in a bit. It's talking about the Caribbean honors its overlooked World War I soldiers. How many of y'all did not know that Caribbean people fought in World War I? How many of y'all didn't know that? How many of y'all only thought, for those who knew about Black people fighting in the war, how many of y'all did not know that, yes, Caribbean people were some of the Black people that fought in the World War I? They're not teaching you that ever. Why recognize the slave? Why? He's a slave. Even though they signed the Constitution, you were never a man. Why recognize who did not deem to be a human being? You understand? Ask ex-servicemen in Antigua and Barbuda about their country's contribution to World War I efforts, and the response will be delivered with ample pride and a touch of pique. The Remembrance Sunday at 11, because some countries do have Remembrance Day the day before, right? As they do every year, they will join their counterparts around the world and gather at the nation's cenotaph to commemorate their fallen but overlooked heroes. They are overlooked because they never mattered. Even in Barbados, and see, throughout the Caribbean islands, French, Dutch, British, Benjamites, we were on the front line as well. But nobody even gave a damn about us. We ain't no different than our Judite brothers. We're the same people. We go through the exact same thing. We're still persecuted today, even though we fight in all the wars of our oppressors. We never mattered. We still don't matter. And we never will matter. You understand? Precisely a century since the Great War ended, the stories of the Europeans who fought for freedom are well documented. Why are they well documented and not the stories of the so-called Negroes or Latinos or natives? They don't care about you. They never did and they never will. Far less is known about the 16,000 men and women from the Caribbean who voluntarily enlisted. These nameless men and women of color have been airbrushed for history. Meaning what? Meaning you've been not included, swept under the rug. You know, they don't exist. Salakia. We have no definite number for how many people from Antigua and Barbuda joined the war efforts. And we're only talking about Antigua and Barbuda. We're not even mentioning Jamaica as of yet. Jamaica, St. Vincent, St. Martin, you know, Trinidad, all the Caribbean islands. The Caribbean was keen to support the mother country as they saw it then. This is how they viewed Britain, right? Because a lot of Caribbean islands were under British rule. So they would call it what? The mother country. Why? Because they are a commonwealth or still connected to the British Empire. That's what they call it, the mother country, right? But Britain was reluctant to let West Indian soldiers fight white Europeans in those days. Again, they did, even though they have an enemy, y'all have an enemy in common, even though you're fighting on the same side, right, against the Germans, they could not tolerate their slaves fighting another slave master. They could not tolerate that. They would not tolerate niggas shooting white people. This is what you need to understand. It didn't matter if these white people were enemies to them. Today will be the equivalent today of the US going to war with Russia, but preventing you to fight Russians because they do not want to see you shoot another white man, even though that white man is their enemy. That's what it is. Whether you were enlisted in the American army, the Canadian, the French, the British, it did not matter. You are not killing white people. Niggas are not allowed to kill white people, even though those white people are enemies to the white people who are enlisting the niggas in the white man's army. It's that simple. Stop trying to fight for your oppressor. He will never fight for you. Like he will not even fight for you so you could fight for him. And still today you're trying to prove your worth to these devils to whom you're worthless to. You understand? You're worthless to them. Let's keep reading a bit more. The region's pleas to assist initially fell on deaf ears. Again, they don't want you to shoot white people. Talking about, let me be right next to you. I got your back. I'm gonna shoot the enemy before he shoots you. He said, you're not shooting no white man. It was not until the need for extra manpower grew so great that King George himself called on the Caribbean colonies to help. They never wanted you right next to them in the first place. They seen that, you know what, we might need some soldiers. So yeah, you know what, let's go see the slave of our colonies, such as Antigua, Barbuda, Barbados, Trinidad, St. Vincent, so on and so forth. In October 1915, The British West Indies Regiment was formed. 2/3 of its men were from Jamaica, the rest hailing from the Bahamas to then British Guyana. Despite receiving a hero's welcome when they arrived in England, the Caribbean soldiers were not permitted to fight as equals alongside their white counterparts. So, for all my Judite brothers and sisters, right, this is the problem. We're divided today because the white man makes us understand that we did not go through the same thing when we literally went through the same oppression. Just like there was segregation in the US, there was segregation everywhere. It's not specific to the US. We are the same people and we go through the exact same struggle wherever we are. You understand? Stop listening to white people tell you that you're a different nation, you're a different people because you speak Creole, Spanish, Portuguese, you're a different type of black. Good night. Matter of fact, you understand, there's a whole movement in the US called the Foundational Black American trying to divide us, saying, if you're not born in the US and you're not so-called African American, you're not black. If you're Haitian, you're not black. They're saying that Busta Rhymes is not black, even though he's born in the US, but he's Jamaican. Shit, they would consider me not black. But who started that movement? White people. A Jewish white woman. Right? So you're literally dividing yourself because of white people. And that's something you don't understand. And then when it comes to be about the people, really, you listen to white people. You hate other so-called Negroes of the islands, Haiti and so on and so forth. It's the white man's fault. You hate Mexicans. It's the white man's fault. You hate Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. Guess what? It's the white man's fault. The division amongst our people is the white man's fault. Because as you can see again in this article where it says that despite receiving a hero's welcome when they arrived in England, the Caribbean soldiers were not permitted to fight as equals alongside their white counterparts. You will never be equal to white people. Stop. And that's the thing. Even in the Bible where it says that we're a holy people, we're above all nations, we were never meant to be equal. The reason why today we're at the bottom of the barrel is not because we're trying to reach the same height as our oppressor. We literally lower ourselves to their level. That's how we got to sin. That's how we disobey the Most High. Because we lower ourselves to their level. Stop trying to be equal when it's supposed to be the best. Stop trying to be equal when God said that you're supposed to be above all nations. The reason why you want to be equal to everybody is because you're a slave today. You're a slave and you think there's nothing greater than Caucasian. There's nothing greater than the British Empire, the French Empire, the Spaniards. The reason why they're greater than you and that they were able to overcome you is because you disobeyed the Most High. That's it. You understand? Let's go to Judith chapter 5, verse 20. If you knew that you were Israelite, in this book, right, is your constitution, you would know the reason why they overpowered you. You would know that it's not because they were more powerful than you. It's not because they're smarter than you. Because you just disobeyed the Most High. The Most High ain't got your back. That's it. And these nations know. That's why they keep you subservient and they want to make sure you don't follow the Most High. So they could keep oppressing you the way they're doing it today. You understand? We go to Judith chapter 5, verse 20. Now, therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error against this people and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up and we shall overcome them. That's it. That's how they got to be more powerful than you, because the Most High ain't got your back. It's that simple. And here's the crazy part. You will reject the Bible saying it's the white man's book, but you will not reject the white man's army. You will not reject everything the white man has to offer in the society. You will still try to join his society, but reject the Bible because it's a quote unquote white man's book when it's not. That's insane. It shows the level of destruction. You understand? It shows how bad we're destroyed. Because you reject the Bible, say, yeah, it's a white man's book. You're not gonna reject the white man's guns, the white man's drugs, the white man's woman. So why reject the Bible when if you think it's a white man's book when really it's not? At the end of the day, it's your book, your constitution, and your historical record. Shalom, in. Right, but let's get back into it. Most soldiers served for lower pay in labor corps, transporting ammunition, digging trenches, building roads and railway lines. The exact same thing our Judite brothers were doing. We did as well. You know, don't think you go through different things, through different struggle, right? The same amount of racism the Judites experience is the same experience in the Caribbeans, throughout Central South America, in Europe, in Canada. Good night. Like I said, I made a video. Canada is as racist as the US. They just don't have a Confederate flag to wave. That's it. You understand? The back-breaking work was often carried out within range of German artillery and snipers, resulting in several deaths. Remember what I said earlier, that you're the expendable soldiers, you're replaceable. You know, you could put as much as they want of you on the front lines. Guess what? They did. The Germans were sniping your ass. The Germans, listen, they did not give a damn. Like, we know we know they're within range of Germans' artillery and snipers. It don't matter. They're still gonna dig the trenches. Why? Because those trenches will keep the white man safe. That's it. Let's keep reading a bit more. It was dangerous in other ways too. A common task was extinguishing fires in burning, sometimes already exploding ammunition dumps. Meaning what? Those ammunition dumps and boxes, while they were burning, there's a risk of the ammunition to explode. If you know about ammunition, whether it's because of the gunpowder and everything, right? One spark, listen, good night. You understand? I don't even see how I have to explain this, but you had to extinguish those fires. And then a lot of times, those ammunition boxes or dumps were exploding. And guess who was the casualty? Not the white man, the expendable soldier. The Caribbean soldiers were later praised for their high morale and cheerful demeanor in the face of exhausting toil. You're a good slave that is not complaining about the labor. That's it. Tales of their might include an instance where 60 men moving 375 tons of ammunition in just 2 hours. Don't think that's surprising. We built the pyramids in Egypt. You understand? What is 365 tons of ammunition? You know, they're basically saying, remember that you were a good slave even on the front lines. Yeah, we know. We built this. We built those buildings. We built Egypt. We built treasures, as in the Bible says, we built treasure cities. Right? For Pharaoh, for our oppressors. It's nothing new. 375 tons of ammunition in just 2 hours. Keep in mind that if it wasn't for black people, it is impossible that our oppressor would have ever been able to win a war. Ever. You understand? And it's here to show you the proof that, listen, even from the beginning of times, we were in our oppressor's military. Look at Cornelius. Cornelius was in the Italian band in the Roman army. Yes, Cornelius was not a white man. He was a brother. Among the first Caribbean casualties to return home were those abroad. Troops ship SS Verdala diverted via Halifax, Canada, while en route to England to avoid German U-boats. The freezing conditions and inadequate uniforms saw more than 100 men suffer amputations of frost-bitten fingers and limbs. They know you were not made to fight in their military because you're from the islands where it never snows. Now you have to go to damn near frost biting, freezing temperatures. And yes, you were getting amputated even before being on the battlefield. Why? Because you're trying to show your worth to the white man. You're willing to lose fingers and arms and legs. Listen, I don't care that I'm worthless to my slave master. Let me keep all my limbs. The hell with it. You go to the extent of losing your limbs to prove your worth. And in 2024, after all those limbs, fingers, nose that fell off because of the cold, you still have to remind your oppressor that Black Lives Matter? So like, I'm gonna have to bring up another precept. It seems like you don't understand. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 7:7. Where it says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. You're supposed to be a wise nation. But today, even though they let you know time after time that they don't care about you, you ain't worth nothing. You still trying to prove that you are worth something, that your life matter? After losing all those limbs during World War I, even before being on the battlefield? Yeah, you're so oppressed that you can't think straight. And the reason why you can't think straight is because that's a curse that fell upon us by disobeying the Most High. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 28. We'll get back to the article. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 28 says what? The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. You still can't believe today that you have to remind people that your life matters. The reason why you're struck with this is astonishment of heart, like, damn, it's shocking that Black people ain't worth nothing in 2024. Because you better believe in your oppressor than believe in the Lord. That's it. The Lord said, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and you trust in Pharaoh. You trust in the devil the Bible speaks of, and then you're shocked that you don't mean shit to that devil. Salakia. You understand? Salakia. This is a comment in the chat real quick. Chad say, how do I get to Canada? I would just want to be in Canada. As far as racism being the same in Canada and the US, I can't agree with you there. Listen, no sweat. Don't agree with me. You want to come to Canada and experience the racism in Canada? Feel free to do so. You understand? Feel free to prove me that Canada is not as racist as the US. Go ahead. No sweat. How you get to Canada? Just like anyone else who wants to immigrate, you just fill up your application. That's it. You go on the Canadian website, the Canadian government website, fill up an application, get your permanent residency card, get your citizenship, move over here, pack up with your family, and feel free to experience the not so bad racism of Canada. All right? That's what you do. Let me get one more precept, right? Then we get back into the article. If it's not that bad, no sweat. Let it not be that bad. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 1, verse 5. Just to show you the amount of madness that is plaguing our people. Isaiah 1 and 5. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick. Listen, you're sick in the head thinking that your oppressor will understand that you matter to him, that you are worth something. You're sick in the head thinking that as a prey, your life matters to the predator, where you could live side by side. As a prey, do you think, see like that, you're an antelope trying to tell the lion, let's team up against the cheetahs. Let's team up against the hyenas, and maybe they will spare me. That's literally Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. Guess what? The lion rather kill you first before ever seeing you fight with him against the cheetahs. That's exactly what happened during World War I. They'd rather you not be on the battlefield killing white people. You understand? That's literally what happened. Right? Salakia. And the whole heart is faint. Go to verse 6. From the sole of the foot even unto the head, there is no soundness in it. You are not making any goddamn sense, thinking you will be accepted in the white man's society, yet still have to remind them Black lives matter. Indigenous lives matter. Latino lives matter. If they did, you will not lose your life at their hand in any type of way. There will not be police brutality, and you will not be the victim on the news all the time. If your life really mattered, you would not even have to say that your life mattered. Nobody says white lives matter, because to people, white lives matter. Nobody says Palestinian lives matter. They know it's a basic moral concept that life matters. Yours doesn't. It's not that nobody comprehends that yours does, it's that yours doesn't. Every nation knows that their people's lives matter. Do you see the Palestinian telling the Israelis Palestinian lives matter and vice versa? No. You will never see that. Do you see the mouse telling the cat the mouse life matter? No. No prey is telling their predator that their lives matter. Not one of them. Except Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. You understand? We're the only people, the only prey trying to fight for our predators' compassion, for our predators' understanding. We won't ever get it. Let's go to the next article, right? Let me see if I need to zoom in a bit. Give me 1 second. Chad said, if you ever hear of a black man hanging from a tree in Canada, then let me know. No sweat. You come over here if you want to experience the racism in Canada, see if it's not as bad as the US. That's it. That's all I gotta tell you. Lord be with you. That's it. You know, if it's not that bad, then come over. And then again, if it's that bad, either stay or go back to the US. I can't control what you want to do. You know, the point is, if you believe Canada is not as racist as the US, feel free to move up here. You understand? Niggas get shot by the police over here too. It's not exclusive to the US. Let's go into this one, right? Again, this one is about French Benjamites. For those who don't know, French Benjamites never had their independence from France up to this day. We still pay France reparations for the loss of labor during slavery. Does that mean that we are accepted in French society? Does that mean that we are as equal as our French white counterpart? Absolutely not. And we still don't understand this in 2024. Should young West Indians, French citizens of the colonies, perform their military service under the same conditions as young people from the mainland of France? As First World War approached, the debate gained momentum in the local press and was structured around the arguments developed by the Ministry of Colonies, the Ministry of War, and the West Indian deputies. Beyond the respective positions of each of the speakers, the virulence of the exchanges revealed all the ambiguity and the complexity of the legal and political situation in the West Indies. Now, if we're French citizens, why would we have to fight for a place in the French military? Aren't we citizens? You're niggers you're niggers before anything else. You're a slave before anything else in the eyes of your oppressor. It don't matter if you're a citizen or not. You understand? They don't give a damn. They don't. They never will. When they look at a Puerto Rican, Puerto Ricans are American citizens. They're not looking at Americans. Even when they look at black people in America, they don't look at Americans. They look at so-called black Americans. You understand? Why do we have to say so-called African Americans? Why do we have to say so-called Mexican Americans? Why not just Americans? They know there's a difference. The citizenship don't mean nothing. You understand? Us French businessmen might have to understand the hard way that, yeah, we're French citizens on paper. We're still not French, though. And we will never be. Conscription in the old colonies, Guadeloupe, Guyana, they're talking about French Guyana, Martinique, Reunion, had been the subject of repeated requests from deputies since 1878. For those who don't know, that's that's 34 years after the abolition of slavery. Yeah, slavery was abolished in Martinique, well, really in the French colonies, in 1844. So in 1878, listen, this is what, 30 years after slavery? What makes you think your life matters? Like, what changed in 30 years for your life to matter? Right? It was quickly, but it was not until 1912 or 1913 that military service was actually put in place and quickly transformed by the First World War. You were not allowed to fight in their military. Good night. Imagine allowing a slave to own a weapon. Like, they know what they put you through for 400 years. Why would they, in their right mind, provide you with a weapon you could use to take revenge on them? They know what happened to Haiti. The Haitians started, when they say coupe tête boule caille, which means cut their heads and burn their houses down. That's literally what it means in Haitian Creole. They did not need another slave insurrection in the other colonies. They did not. They did not abolish anything in Haiti. Haiti freed itself. They did not need to give the weapons to the slaves so they could, take their island to themselves like they did in Haiti. They could not afford that again. This demand for conscription was part of a global aspiration for equality, which is the lie they're trying to push. Because if we were equal, why could we not fight, or why were we not allowed to kill German soldiers? They did not want us to kill German soldiers because we're killing white people. What about equality? If we're equal today, why? I make a whole class about that. If we're equal today, right? Why is the cost of living in Guadeloupe, Guyana, and Martinique 5 to 6 times higher than on the French mainland? Why? If we're equal, we're all French, right? If we're equal today, why do we have to remind people that Black lives matter? I thought we were equal, so we're equal. All lives should matter, right? See, that's what we tell you. The white man is the devil the Bible speaks of. He lies to you all the time. So, like, I'll keep doing this. Let me get this precept real quick, right? Salaki, let's go to Proverbs. Is it Proverbs? No, Psalms 55 and 21, yeah? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Let's fight for equality, and all lives matter. But war was in his heart. He's there to deceive you. It sounds good. The words of his mouth are smoother than butter. Let's enlist them in the military with their white counterparts. Let's push for equality. Listen, that's not even, barely 50 years after the abolition of slavery? Not even 100 years after the abolition of slavery. So, however you say it in English, the point is, not even 100 years, a century after slavery. And they say, yeah, you know what? Let's fight for equality. Today, you're still a nigga over there. They treat the French Caribbean like I think the English word for this, a tax paradise, right? That's how they treat it over there. They do whatever the hell they want. There's no regulations for devils over there. Not one. But it sounds good. It sounds good. Everything sounds good to a slave. Everything. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Everything will sound good to a slave, not knowing that our oppressor spirit is to destroy us regardless. But war was in his heart. His word were softer than oil. It sounds good. It feels good to the ear. Let's fight for equality. yet they were drawn swords. Listen, if we fight for equality, why did they poison the islands of Martinique and Guadeloupe with a carcinogenic pesticide called chlordécone until 1993? It's not that they did not know the repercussions. They knew. Now, 90% of the population in Martinique, as well as 90% in Guadeloupe, are affected by this. Whether it comes to premature birth and so on and so forth, the food, the waterways, whether it's the river system or the water around the islands, are still affected by this pesticide. And they knew what they did. You understand? Yeah, good night. The two islands have the highest rate of prostate cancer because it sounds good to fight for equality, but you understand? His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Listen, it don't matter what they say. Their agenda is to exterminate you. They want to talk about a ethnical genocide in Palestine. We've been suffering throughout the Americas and the Caribbean islands from an ethnical genocide. What are you talking about? And nobody said praise for Martinique or Guadeloupe, praise for Puerto Rico, pray for the Native American Indians, but all of a sudden we have to pray for Palestine because they are, subjected under a ethnical genocide. We've been suffering from an ethnical genocide since 1492. Nobody ever said pray for us. Let's get back to the article. Salakia. The abolition of slavery in 1848. Salakia. I said 1844. It's 1848. Tomato. Gave all inhabitants of these colonies the status of citizen. But this measure was far from being followed by social equality. As you understand, even myself as a French citizen, there will never be any social equality with our white French counterpart. With any white counterpart, as a matter of fact, whether it's American, British, Spanish, Portuguese, it don't matter. With the return of the Republic, the turn of its name, a demand for assimilation developed at several levels. Legal, which means metropolitan laws were not automatically applicable in the old colonies. Yeah, like I said, it's a free-for-all over there with the devils. Political and social. And what commitment could be more noble and symbolic than that of preparing to defend the mother country? This is the thing. There's no pride in you fighting for your oppressor. Just because your oppressor says, we will include you in society, but just on paper, right? In real life, you're still a nigger to us. You're still a spick and a savage. As a matter of fact, let's go into the definition of insanity real quick. Let me show you something, right? Give me 1 second. I want the concept of it. That's what I want. I'm going to give you the concept of insanity so you understand that our people are insane. There you go. Let me share this. The concept of insanity. There you go. Right? This is the legal dictionary. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit. I'm going to show you the concept of insanity. You're going to understand that Black people are insane trying to still join their oppressor. It's a mental illness. Insanity, mental illness of such a severe nature that a person cannot distinguish fantasy from reality. The fantasy is that we're all equal. The reality is that we're just niggas, spics, and savages. That's it. According to the definition of insanity, Black people are insane still trying to join the oppressor's society as an equal to their oppressor. Like, even, I don't see how I still have to explain this. How can the oppressed be equal to its oppressor? It sounds crazy, but that's literally how our people think, that as the oppressed, we could be equal to the oppressor. How does that make sense? How can the prey be equal to its predator? It makes no sense. It's damn near delusional to think like that, right? Again, insanity, a mental illness of such a severe nature that a person cannot distinguish fantasy from reality. This is Black, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Cannot conduct his or her or his affairs due to psychosis. We can't function in normal life because we're still trying to integrate our oppressive society as equal. Why? Due to psychosis. Or is subject to uncontrollable impulsive behavior. Again, oppression make a wise man mad. Today, the island of Martinique is literally burning down because we're so oppressed. We don't know how to conduct ourselves. We don't know how to respond to this level of oppression. This is why the islands are burning down right now. Insanity is distinguished from low intelligence or mental deficiency due to age or injury. Listen, you're not stupid. You're not dumb. You're just oppressed. It's distinguished from low intelligence. It's not that you're stupid. It's just a crazy concept to think that you will ever be equal to a people that is oppressing you, ever. Even as the oppressed, you should want to rise up and free yourself from oppression, but you want to be on the same level as the people oppressing you. That's insane, literally. Again, what we just read in the article about the French Benjamites, what commitment could be more noble and symbolic than that of preparing to defend mother country? Mother who? Mother to who? You understand? And these people who defend the so-called quote-unquote mother country, guess what? They're not being remembered today. Not even talked about. As a matter of fact, how many of y'all today just learned that Benjamites were fighting as well in World War I? A lot of you didn't even know there were actually black people in there. I didn't even get to the part where, I'm going to get to the part real quick for time's sake, that our Latino brothers and sisters expected to be accepted in American society after fighting, just to be told, nah, you don't mean nothing. I mean, thank you for your service, but you ain't mean shit. So like you. You understand? Let's see if we could go on a bit further. Right. There you go. But the military service was constantly pushed back. It was the subject of press campaigns, petitions, and actions by representatives of the Antilles to the chamber and the various ministry concerned. They didn't want you to fight. It's honorable. Even as a citizen, listen, we don't want niggers right next to us killing other white people. That's crazy. A topography of exchanges was established. Letters from deputies and senators to the Minister of Colonies, who forwarded them to the Minister of War, returns leaving a number of notes, opinions from advisory committees, and especially projects. The question of Creole recruitment particularly mobilized the energy of the Antilles representatives, who made it a personal affair when the opportunity arose, a victory. Listen, you will fight so hard to fight right next to your oppressor when he's going to turn his back and say, you know what? You were not even part of the fight. That's what he's going to say. He's going to, the part that you played in the history of the fight, especially when it comes to a victory, yeah, it's swept under the rug. It never existed. Guess what? If it came to a loss, guess who would be blamed? Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. You understand? It's that simple, right? Let's see if we have more on this article, right? We're running short on time. We might just jump to our Latino brothers and sisters. Yeah, let's jump to the next article, right? Because you need to understand that we went through the exact same thing. What are so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. We went through the exact same thing. We still do today. And today, when they remember their fallen soldiers, they remember their people. Not the people that they did not even want on the battlefield with them. not the people who helped them dig those, well, who dug the trenches for them so that they could, they could prevent being shot from German artillery by German artillery or snipers. They're not going to remember the people who brought them all the ammunition they needed to reload their gun and kill the Germans. They're never going to remember those people. Why? Because black lives don't matter. Because brown lives don't matter. Because indigenous lives don't matter. That's why. This is from the encyclopedia website. Listen, all this knowledge is not even hidden knowledge, really. They just don't want you to, they're just not going to put it in any curriculum. They're not going to put it in the history books. That our people fought the wars of their oppressors. Latinos, World War I and World War II, as far back as the Revolution, Latinos in the United States have made important contributions to the American military and war efforts. However, it was not until the 20th century that the Latino community played significant roles in the military. World War I marked the beginning of assimilation of many Latinos, and World War II saw an increasing number of Latinos in the military. The world wars, Slovakia. The two world wars also influenced the Latino home front as Latino moved into new occupations and dealt with wartime discrimination. And here's one thing you're going to see with Latinos. Unlike their Negro brothers, a lot of Latinos, and you're going to see also why there's not so much information or harder to find, information is hard to find about Latinos in the military. Because when it came to the census, they checked the box that says that they identified as white, even though they're not. You understand? But not because you identify as something is that this is what you are. They still face discrimination because white people know that Latinos are not white. They know. Not because you have a Spaniard name, it says Cortez, that it means that you are a Spaniard. Black people have the name Washington. They're not going to be treated as white people. They don't give a damn. You're still going to face the same amount of discrimination and racism as your Negro and Native counterpart. Because we're one people. We're literally the same people who go through the same thing. And you still are not recognized like your Negro brothers because brown lives don't matter to white people. Latinos in World War I, although a lack of records make it difficult to precisely measure the role of Latinos in the U.S. military during World War I, documentation demonstrates their important, though largely unrecognized, contribution to the war effort. Many Latinos from states such as Texas and New Mexico served during World War I. Why largely unrecognized? They don't give a damn. And just like they didn't want niggas to shoot white people, they didn't want Mexicans to shoot white people either. Because the United States was largely unprepared for war, the military had to induct and train soldiers quickly. Many of the new recruits spoke little or no English, including some Latinos. At first, these men were sent to development battalions at military training camps where they were given little attention. They did not need to train SPICs at all. Just like they didn't give a damn about, they did not want to give weapons to niggas. They did not want to train the SPICs how to kill. They knew, it's not like they don't know their history. They know they enslaved Mexican brothers as well. They know they lynched them. Why would they give the weapons to the people they oppress? They always feared a slave insurrection. So why give them the tools to actually act on what they fear? Sometimes ridiculed by English-speaking soldiers, many Latinos and other ethnic minorities wanted to leave the military. In response, the military developed the Camp Gordon Plan, in which soldiers were separated into language groups with officers who spoke the language of the soldiers. You were segregated. That's really what it is. Because then they're going to prevent you from leaving the military because they need the manpower. So instead of you leaving, which you should have done regardless, They just segregate. They just, separated you. I don't even want to use the word segregated because you're still fighting in the same army, right? Once this communications gap was bridged, their military training then continued in their native language. Let's go down a bit. Some Latinos saw combat duty and a few received honors. Nicolas Lucero, a 19-year-old soldier from Albuquerque, won the French Croix de Guerre, which means the Cross of War. Marcelino Serna, an enlisted man in the army, fought on the front line trenches of France, where he earned numerous medals. However, despite capturing 24 German soldiers, Marcelo Serna captured himself 24 German soldiers. He never received the Medal of Honor. An officer told Serna that he would not receive such an award because he was merely a private, that he could never advance to a higher level because of his limited English language skills. In other words, you ain't never going to be as equal as your white counterpart. That's it. That's literally what he's saying. Even if he spoke English, it would not matter. Why? Because our oppressor's a monster. And that black lives don't matter, brown lives don't matter, and native lives don't matter to him. That's why. You will never be equal to white people. The oppressed will never be equal to its oppressor. Whether it's the early 1900s to 2024, where you still have to tell him that your life matters. It doesn't matter if you yell it every single morning for 24 hours, your life will still not matter. Get that in your head. You understand? The fact that you still can't understand the reality of it proves that you suffer from insanity. You cannot distinguish fantasy from reality. You cannot distinguish what's an illusion from what's real. The illusion is that you are part of this society and every life matters. Guess what? Trump said that it doesn't matter if the families are born in the U.S. He's deporting the Latinos. He can deport you. He will. He said, listen, they don't care. They said they're not splitting families apart. They're deporting the whole family, even those who have American citizenship. And this is literally what we read as the concept of insanity. You cannot understand the difference between a fantasy, which is you being equal to your white counterpart because you're an American, you're Canadian, you're British, you're French, and the reality of it, that you're still a slave. And you don't matter to nobody but the Most High God of the Bible. You don't matter to any nation. Your life surely don't matter. The proof is that you still have to tell him that it does. You understand? Matter of fact, so let me zoom in a bit for y'all. At the same time, for many Latinos in Texas and other states, World War I represented their first experience with assimilation into mainstream U.S. society. Again, you will never be part of U.S. society. You will never be a Canadian. You will never be French, Spanish, or Portuguese. You will never be assimilated into your oppressive society as an equal. You will never be. It doesn't matter if you kill all the enemies you fight in all his wars. The brother Marcelino Serna had to be reminded that he can never advance to a higher level and be as equal to his white counterparts because apparently he doesn't speak good English. Really, it's because niggas, spics, and savages can never be as equal as white people. That's it. You understand? Let me see. Give me one moment. Let's go to the next article for time's sake, right? For time's sake, we'll go to the next article. We'll see about our Gadite brothers who fought with us as well for the oppressor in World War I. Nobody talks about that. And it's not even news that nobody gives a damn about the natives. They still didn't get their land back. As a matter of fact, they're not even asking for the land back anymore. They just want clean water. They're not getting it. The Prime Minister of Canada said, yeah, he's going to give the natives clean water if he's elected Prime Minister. That was 9 years ago. And listen, I spoke to a Gadite sister, right? There's a form they could fill to get quote unquote compensation. If you read that form, not only they have a deadline to submit the form, the compensation is about $100 some. And if they already had the compensation once, they cannot ask for it for more compensation, even if they still get affected by the dirty water after receiving such compensation. Your oppressor is a goddamn monster, and you still trying to join him. You still trying to be as equal as he is. Listen, the Most High will give you clean water, not the devil the Bible speaks of. You understand? Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Don't put your trust in Egypt. Don't trust your oppressor. Because what he does, listen, everything sounds good to a slave, right? Beggars can't be choosers, and everything sounds good to a beggar. I'll give you clean water if I'm elected Prime Minister of Canada. 9 years later, you're still begging for clean water. You won't get it from your oppressor. You're not going to get anything but oppression from your oppressor. Let that sink in. Let's share this last article. Let me just zoom in a bit, and I'm going to share it to the screen. Right. Native American sailors in World War I. Let's see. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit more. That should be Tawab. Native Americans have served with the Navy since the American Revolution. Nobody talks about that, right? With the Continental Navy, they served as river pilots and as scouts. During the American Civil War, some enlisted in the ranks of the Union Navy. What defined their participation in World War I was their high enlistment rate for the size of their population. These recruits were the children of the age of assimilation. Listen, if you don't know, natives don't even make a high percentage of the population, whether it's Canada or the US anymore, right? Starting in the late 19th century, the agents of the Bureau of Indian Affairs removed many Native American children from their families and sent them to government-run boarding schools for their compulsory education. If you want to see the class we did about residential schools, we'll make a rerun on it. Y'all can go watch it. We did a couple weeks ago. What happened over there was atrocious. Carlisle Indian Industrial School, which is another name for the residential schools, was one example of these government-run boarding schools. The school opened in 1879 in Pennsylvania under the leadership of Richard Henry Pratt, an Army veteran. Pratt firmly believed to civilize the Indian, get him into civilization. To keep him civilized, let him stay. The goal of the school and others modeled after it was the full assimilation of students as independent citizens of the United States, which also happened in Canada. Between 1879 and its closing in 1918, over 10,000 children attended the school. The legacy of the government-run boarding schools is sad and dark. The pictures of the children entering these schools in their tribal dress and long braids contrast sharply with images of them in their military-style school uniforms. This is what you would see them look like in their military-style school uniform, in contrast to them looking with braids. You don't see him with long hair right now. No hair, no braids, no garment with fringes. You see him with a military style uniform, right? So the United States entered World War I on April 6, 1917. All Native American men between ages of 21 and 30 were considered eligible for the draft under Selective Service Act, regardless of their citizenship status. citizenship status is outrageous, for lack of better words, when they were here first. Aren't they the first nations? Why would they need citizenship on a land where they were there first? Because the white man's the devil the Bible speaks of. The army took majority of those who were drafted. According to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, over 2,000 Native Americans enlisted in the Navy out of the estimated 10,000 serving in the armed force. Among those who enlisted in the Navy from the boarding schools were students from Carlisle Indian School. More than 60 students from Carlisle joined the armed forces between 1917 and 1918, and at least 14 of them joined the Navy. Some dropped out prior to their graduation to join the service with the permission of the superintendent, John Francis Jr. John Francis Jr. was appointed as superintendent at Carlisle on April 1st, 1917, only days before the U.S. declaration of war was formalized. He supported the students, both current and former, and he served at the school until its closing in 1918. Those who wrote to him at the school had their letters filed in their student files, a record of their enduring connection to the school and their service to their country. I thought y'all were supposed to honor the people who provided service to their country. Why are they still on reservations today? Why are we not talking about the natives who held the night? Listen, if it wasn't for the so-called Gadites, these wars would not have been won. You see the Morse code, right? Where they we're gonna make a whole class about that. They came up with it. They came up with a code so that the German cannot understand the communication they had between the soldiers in the US Army and the Canadian Army. They came up with that code. White people are not smart. We literally were the brains of the operation. Damn, we were the muscle as well, because we're carrying all the loads. We're carrying the ammunition, we're carrying the food, we're digging the trenches. Damn, we're losing our limbs because it's too cold, just so we could have a seat right next to the oppressor in his heaven. You will never have a seat in your oppressor's heaven, for the simple fact that your oppressor's heaven is your hell. You understand? Let's see if we have a bit more, right? For some students who enlisted in 1917, this was a chance to escape the boarding schools. A lot of them, the reason why they enlisted, because again, go look at the previous classes where we covered the boarding schools or residential schools, right? Look at the abuse. Let me put that in perspective. One residential school in Canada had an electric chair that was used for both punishment and sport, meaning they had fun electrocuting little Gadite children in the school. There were laws put in place where they were forced to attend the school. The Canadian government made it legal for the RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, to kidnap children from the reservation so they could attend the school for what? To be abused physically, sexually, mentally, in all types of ways. And if they had a chance to escape legally, because if they escape and go back to the reservation, they're going to be snatched out of the reservation again. So if they had a chance to escape legally, they're going to take that chance, which is why most of them, if not all of them, enlisted in the army, because it was their way out of the residential schools where they would get abused regardless. It's like die and get buried under the school or die on the battlefield. You're going to die regardless. But they felt like maybe it's not as bad as getting abused every day. That's what they felt like. For others, their decision was the natural outgrowth of patriotism forged in the classroom in a desire to prove their worth to the U.S. government. Again, listen, I don't want to repeat myself. You're not worth anything to your oppressor. a lot of those were just escaping the atrocities of the boarding schools, but some others, they already killed the Indian in them. What did it say? They said, kill the Indian, save the man. Assimilation or integration is really assimilation when you forgive everything about your culture and now you believe you're an American citizen. Now you believe you're French, you believe you're British. Well, for those, it was, let me show my worth as an American citizen. Let me protect my country. That's because they beat the Indian out of you. I don't want to say the Indian is, they really beat your culture out of you. That's why now you think you're going to have to show your worth to the US government, to the Canadian government, and so on and so forth. You're still doing that today. When was it? I think it was, last month? There was a so-called Native sister. She was found dead on the military base. A couple of years ago, this Mexican sister was killed and raped on the military. Raped and killed on the military base in the US. This still happens today. You are not worth anything. You're not fighting for your country. Your oppressor don't give a damn about you, and he never will. Stop trying to show your worth to a people who you have to remind that your life matter. They don't have to remind you that their life matter. You fight for them because in your eyes, their lives matter to you. And you want your life to matter to them as much as their lives matter to them. It's never going to happen. And in 2024, it's sad that we still have to remind our people that it is never going to happen. We will never be on the same level as our oppressors. Let's keep reading a bit more, right? William Leon Wolfe, a student at Carlisle, was among those who joined the Navy in 1917. He later wrote, "The Indian is not a slacker, and I didn't mean to be one." According to one reporter, most of the boarding schools were almost emptied by enlistments when war was declared. Again, nobody wanted to keep being abused in these residential schools. And for those who willingly enlisted to prove their worth, they already forgot about being a native. For them, they're American citizens. Guess what? Coming back from war, you're not, on the same level as white people living in the cities or being able to build the American dream. You're back to the reservation. In my city today, natives live under bridges and they smoke crack. You understand? This is what you get from fighting for your oppressor. Nothing. You're not getting anything but more oppression from your oppressor. Don't expect anything else. And it's insane for you to expect something else but oppression from your oppressor. The Commissioner of Indian Affairs, Cato Sells, was excited as the rate of enlistment among the students at the boarding schools increased on the onset of this war. The devil's thing is the good thing for you to come into the military, not knowing that you're only joining because he's oppressing you. You're only joining because he's beating the hell out of you in these schools. You're only joining because he's raping all the native children and he's electrocuting them in the schools. We're using an electrocuting chair for fun. And he thinks it's a good thing. Really, you're just trying to escape oppression. You're choosing, it's like voting. You're choosing the death that is not as bad as the other death. You're choosing the lesser evil. You're choosing the death that it doesn't hurt as much as being abused every day. Literally. For him, it's a good thing. Why? Because he doesn't give a damn about you. He doesn't care that you're being abused every day. He doesn't care that you're trying to escape the residential schools. Guess what? If you get to come back, you're back to being oppressed on American soil, on Canadian soil. You're not getting any medals like the brother, what was his name? Marcelino Serna. You will never advance on a higher level. You will never be as equal to your white counterpart. You understand? Good night. Listen, this is from William Leon Wolfe. He said, "My people were proud of my determination to fight." For who? For Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, to tell your people in reservation that He will provide them clean drinking water, and 9 years later, he's still not providing one drop of clean drinking water? Fight for what? For your country? What country? The United States of America? Listen, for the United States of America to be built and to be called your country that you say you fight for, they had to slaughter your people. They had to kill them with smallpox. They had to rape all the women. They had to, listen, commit all types of atrocities to Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians in order for these countries to be built, which we built for them, in order for their military to be put up. In order for you to join the U.S. military, a genocide had to be committed on your people. We're going to end it there, right? The point is, the people we just read about today are not being remembered. A lot of y'all did not even know about the Latino brother who was told he will never be as equal to his white counterparts. Y'all did not know that natives had to flee the boarding schools, and the only way to flee the boarding schools legally was to enlist in the army. You understand? You will not know, you would not have known today that even though we're still French citizens, French Benjamite had to fight their way and prove their worth to France during the World War I, during World War II. Up to this day, we still have to prove that our lives do matter. Do not oppress us more on the islands. Why is the cost of living 5 to 6 times higher in the French colonies of Martinique, Guadeloupe, and French Guyana than in mainland France? Because your oppressor is the devil the Bible speaks of. And that for him, Black lives, brown lives, and indigenous people's lives don't matter. You understand? And with that, we're going to end the class right here. To what up for everybody who tuned in, right? Next week we'll have the class, same class, but in French. You understand? Then we're going to touch on, if you have any specific topic when it comes to history that you want us to bring out when it comes to our people, you can message ISUPK Toronto, ISUPK Montreal, isupkcanada@gmail.com or isupkmontreal@gmail.com. You understand? And we'll touch on it, right? Just remember that our oppressor is the devil the Bible speaks of, and that you should never try to show your word to a people that never cared, they still don't, and they never will up to this day, right? So let's get security announcements. Let's clap it up. We are the I.S.U.P.K, started out on 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. Rules for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they're off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After the 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry, tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 to 10 means tenth in the Hebrew, ma'ashara. 10% of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or a teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you like. Upcoming holy convocation, we have the Feast of Dedication, also called Hanukkah in the Hebrew, which is the 25th day of the 9th month by the space of 8 days, happens to fall on the 25th of December. So if you're celebrating Christmas and not Hanukkah, right, God hates you and your children. Let me just say it like that. By the space of 8 days, you can read more about it in the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 52 to 61. Reminder to all Akim and Aquatian to check the bulletin board in the hallway of their school. They have a physical location. And if any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boot, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. With that said, we'll give a courtesy salute to the brothers and a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Imajam, which means to stand. We'll give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Imajam Shabbat, Imajam, Barak, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Brakatham, mean Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai bless y'all. Yajamatah, which means hands down. Sar, which means to turn. Turn and face the sisters. If you have any in your presence, we'll give them a courtesy salute as well. Men of Israel, Imajam Shabbat, Imajam, Barak, Yahweh Shamar Alathan Ba'Hashem Yahushai. Meaning Yahweh watch over y'all in the name of Yahushai. Yajamatha class dismissed.
Hey, listen, brothers and sisters, man. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button, man. Subscribe to this channel. And also, please, go to isupk.com and pay your tithe. Drop me some cash so we can move around this planet like we need to, man, and do